everyone. I'm Christine Van Slyke, realtor with Remax Estate Properties, and today I'm excited to introduce Dan Spitz, mortgage lender with CB Loans.
That's right. Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yes,
I think I've talked to Dan probably almost every day for the past few weeks.
Yeah.
But he did amazing things in getting a client of mine his first home.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be great for everyone else to meet you as well. Hear a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, thank you. I've actually been in the business for 18 years. I started at the big banks, the Chase and the Wells Fargo. But what I found was, it's not a one-size-fits-all environment, and I was really attracted to the creative lending solutions that are out there. So I'm now with a boutique lending firm called CB Loans, and we have access to all sorts of capital. And I think what really attracted me is when you're talking about self-employed borrowers and when you're talking about investment properties, there's just a whole host of lending solutions that big banks don't necessarily want to take on. They're famous for they want to lend to people that don't need the money.
And I've seen more and more with COVID, people are starting their own businesses, so it's really an opportunity for you guys to...
Yeah, the COVID thing is interesting because your typical loan requires a 2-year history. And a lot of people, if you go 2 years back, it was a little bit dicey, right?
Right.
So what we find in the boutique lending world is the 1-year tax return solutions and sort of the alternate financing really kind of opens the door to all borrowers out there. So.
Yeah, pretty exciting. And as I said, that helped my recent client as well.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Yes, it did.
So, give us a little insight into the market right now. It's a bit crazy. In some ways it's normalizing, but tell us your thoughts around it.
I think at first glance, it's a little bit scary, right? We have interest rates are at a 15-year high. You have the 24-hour news cycle always talking about doom and gloom. And I think people are naturally a little bit hesitant to jump in. I think, for me anyways, I see opportunity.
Exactly.
Right? I see the crowd is thinning. Right, there's not as many people jumping to every house that comes on the market. So if you're opportunistic and if you're patient, there's really some great opportunities.
So the buyers out there right now, they've been asking me, should I wait till next year? Rates are going up, but potentially price. Some people have said pricing's going to be going down 20%. There's always these conversations going on. I think in LA, it's a little bit different on what's happening, but what are your thoughts around it?
I also think, and not only is it specific to the neighborhood, but it's specific to the price range, right? So at certain price ranges, particularly in the entry level, which in LA is, about $1 million for a house, right? There's a lot of price support. I have a lot of clients on the sidelines. There's a lot of people waiting to jump in. Right. So I don't see a giant crash coming. I don't see this huge opportunity that if we wait another 6 months, things are going to be completely different. What you have is an environment where obviously it's a little bit more expensive. Rates are a little bit higher. But what I do with borrowers is they get very emotional about seeing a high number.
Especially of sort of what it used to be.
That's right. If you think that you're going to get something in the 2%, and we talk about a quote that's now approaching 6%, right? People get very anxious, but what I try and do is talk them into a couple things. Number one, let's look at the math. Let's look at your monthly payment from what you thought it was going to be to what it is going to be, and even if it's $300 a month more, that might be a substantial difference. Right. But it's $3,600 on the year. And that's perhaps something you can make up in appreciation, or perhaps it's something you make up in other areas of your life. So is it a reason to fold the whole idea and walk away and come back? For some maybe, but I still think that if you can find the right opportunity and rework your budgets, it could still make sense.
And if you look at investments right now and what's happening with those, right? Real estate is a good investment.
Absolutely.
Still is strong.
And I think the other point to make is that this isn't necessarily your final interest rate, right?
Exactly.
You can refinance. I'm not sure who came up with the original quote, but you marry your house, you date your interest rate. Right? So
yeah, that was recently.
So this is a kind of thing where you can look at it as this is what it takes to get into the property. And these are my plans for the next 12, 24, 36 months.
Right.
But, the Fed is fighting inflation. and inflation will pass. And when inflation comes down, rates will come down.
So what are you thinking? I mean, that was going to be my next question. Good lead in. So we just saw what happened with the Fed rate recently, right? I think there's, targeting a few extras to come in before the end of the year. What's your...
I think it's always a little bit dicey to try and predict the future. My
Right?
crystal ball's in the shop. But, when the Fed raises rates, they are taking an active role in trying to fight inflation. And when inflation comes down, mortgage rates come down. So people look at the Fed raising rates and think that mortgage rates went up. And though directionally they can work together, that's not really what's happening. When they are raising rates, they are slowing down the economy, they are fighting inflation, and these are things that are going to lead to rates coming down. So, we are likely to see, and we're starting to see, economic slowdown.
Right.
And when that happens, rates do come down. So I think in the next 24 months, there are going to be refinance opportunities. So when you start to, calculate your monthly payment at what your rates are today, and you say, hey, I need to plan for 12, 24, maybe even 36 months of this.
Right.
But it's not going to be 10 years of this. You are going to have an opportunity to refinance.
And again, I think that's what everybody needs to consider.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not the long-term rate.
That's right.
So Dan, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Everybody, absolutely, as I mentioned, he's already helped one of my clients.
Yes.
So he's here for you. Why don't you give how everyone can contact you?
Sure.
Your name and...
Absolutely. So my name is Dan Spitz. You can go to my website. It's teamdanlending.com. And my email is dan@teamdanlending.com. You can also call my cell phone, 310-622-3773. Happy to help.
And if you need help, we can work together and find you a place. So thanks very much. All the best.
Thank you.